When everyone saw her as just the maid, no one expected her to rebuild the boy's spirit, not with toys but with prosthetic arms. But when the billionaire walked in, what he did next, no one in Palm Beach could believe it. Palm Beach, where sunshine kisses wealth and even grief wears designer suits. Inside the towering glass walls of the Campbell estate, silence echoed louder than any sound. Justin Campbell, billionaire tech CEO, sat alone in his office, fingers frozen above his keyboard, staring at a photo frame he hadn't touched in 2 years, the one of his late wife holding their newborn son, Jason. Now 5, Jason didn't ask for much. Not toys, not new clothes, not even a hug. He'd learned to live without those things, the same way he'd learned to live without part of his arms, taken in the same car accident that stole his mother. Most days, the house ran like a machine. Staff came and went, everything clean, polished, emotionless. Except for one woman, Hannah Jackson. She wasn't supposed to matter. A maid, hired through an agency, her uniform pressed, her voice soft, her smile gentle but unreadable. But Hannah didn't just scrub floors or fold towels, she noticed things. Like how Jason never looked anyone in the eyes, how he dragged his sleeves over the stubs of his arms, and how he always stood just outside the circle of joy, watching, never entering. She started leaving crayons out for him. No comment, just crayons. Then sketchbooks. Then books about superheroes who didn't have arms, but saved the world anyway. Jason started following her around like a shadow, and she let him. They talked in whispers, laughed in corners, a quiet, sacred world no one else seemed to notice. Justin? He barely looked up. Business deals, board meetings, the next acquisition. He told himself he was providing Jason with everything, a mansion, private doctors, therapy, but deep down he couldn't look at his son without seeing what was gone. And Jason knew that. But Hannah, she saw what was left, and she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could help Jason feel whole again, not with toys, but with purpose. What she didn't know was that the day she tried would change everything. And hey, if your heart's already breaking a little for Jason, maybe hit that subscribe button, because every time someone does, we get to keep sharing stories that remind us it only takes one person to make someone feel whole again. Go ahead. We'll wait. It was a Friday afternoon. The Florida sun poured through the sheer curtains of Jason's room. Hannah sat cross-legged on the rug, surrounded by small parts, wires, and something that looked like a tiny robot skeleton. Jason sat across from her, wide-eyed, his little face filled with something Justin hadn't seen in months, wonder. "This one's different," Hannah said, holding up a gloved hand, fingers careful around the metal joint. "It's lighter, see?" She placed it beside Jason's arm stump. Jason touched it, then looked up. "Like Mommy's?" Hannah paused. Her smile was soft. "Yes, baby. Just like Mommy's." Jason blinked. "She had one too?" Hannah nodded. She did. Not because she had to, but because she wanted to help other kids who did. Jason grinned. A real grin, toothy and sudden. And in that sacred silence, Hannah gently pressed the prosthetic over his tiny arm. It clicked, not just mechanically, but emotionally, like it belonged. "You look like a superhero now," she whispered. He stared at his reflection in the glass, and for the first time in his short life, he didn't look broken. Across the estate, Justin's car pulled into the driveway. He wasn't supposed to be home until late, but a cancelled investor meeting gave him a rare break. He stepped into the foyer, loosening his tie, scrolling through emails. Then he heard laughter. Jason's laughter. It pulled him down the hall like a memory. He hadn't heard it in 2 years. He paused at the doorway of Jason's room and froze. There on the floor sat his maid, holding his son's arm like a sacred object, fitting him with a custom prosthetic. Jason looked up at her like she was magic, and she looked at him like a mother would. Justin's eyes locked on the prosthetic. "What the hell is this?" Hannah's smile vanished. She looked up slowly, unsure if she should answer. Jason turned around. "Daddy, look!" he beamed. "Now I look like Mommy." The words sliced straight through Justin's chest. His lips parted. Nothing came out. And suddenly, the room was too quiet. Justin stood in the middle of Jason's room, eyes locked on the prosthetic arm, like it was some kind of betrayal. Jason looked between the two adults, still smiling. "Daddy, she made me one, like superheroes, like Mommy." Hannah slowly rose to her feet. She didn't speak, not yet. She wanted to give him space. Justin finally turned to her. "Where did you get that?" His voice wasn't loud, but it was cold, like marble. "I made it," Hannah replied, her tone steady but soft. "I've been working on it, during breaks. I didn't mean—" "You made it," he blinked. "You're the maid, not a doctor, not a therapist. You don't get to experiment on my son." Jason flinched. Hannah's eyes flicked to the boy. "I would never hurt Jason. He asked questions. I gave him hope, that's all." Justin's jaw tightened. "Hope doesn't come in parts you strap on his body." "You mean like therapy sessions he dreads, or the specialists who call him incomplete when they think he's not listening?" That stopped him. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," Hannah said gently, "especially not his mother." Justin turned away, gripping the edge of the bookshelf like it was the only thing holding him upright. His breathing was heavy, uneven. Jason stepped forward, tiny voice cutting the tension like a knife. I like it, Daddy. Please don't make her go." Justin didn't answer. He just walked out. That night, Hannah moved quietly around the house, wiping surfaces, folding towels, staying out of sight. The warmth in her chest from earlier had turned cold. Maybe she had crossed a line. Maybe she'd gotten too close. She considered calling the agency, requesting a transfer, back to anonymity. But then Jason's drawing appeared on the counter, a stick-figure version of her holding his hand, with both arms. She couldn't leave, not yet. Meanwhile, Justin sat alone in the dark of his home office, scotch in hand, staring again at that old photo, his wife holding Jason. She had been the heart of the house. He'd buried her, and maybe, without meaning to, he was burying his son too. The warning came in the afternoon. Tropical storm Emery had shifted direction. Fast. What started as a routine drizzle now had palm trees snapping in the wind and cars lining up at gas stations. Emergency alerts buzzed across the estate's smart system. Shelter in place. Roadways flooding. Airport shut down. Justin stood in the foyer, phone pressed to his ear. "Your driver's not coming back, Hannah. The roads to West Palm are blocked," he said, not quite looking at her. "I understand," she replied, her voice calm. He hesitated. "You'll have to stay here just for the night." Jason, who'd been sitting quietly on the stairs, suddenly smiled. Justin gave him a tired look. "It's not a sleepover, buddy." But Jason didn't care. For the first time since his mother died, someone was staying. On purpose. By nightfall, the wind howled outside like a wild thing. Power flickered. The generator buzzed to life. Most of the estate's grandeur was cloaked in candlelight and backup lamps. Justin tried to bury himself in paperwork, but it was impossible with Jason wide awake, bouncing between the hallway and kitchen like a ball of nervous energy, and always at his side. Hannah. They ended up in the living room, an accidental family of 3. Jason curled beside Hannah on the couch, a blanket wrapped around him like a cape. She read softly from a book, her voice like warm honey against the roar of the storm. Justin stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching them. He should have left the room, but something about the scene anchored him. Hannah looked up once, met his eyes. He didn't look away. Later, when Jason drifted to sleep on the couch, prosthetic arm clutched to his chest like a teddy bear, Hannah gently tucked him in. Justin broke the silence. "You're good with him?" Hannah nodded. "He makes it easy." "No," Justin said. "He doesn't." Another pause. "I didn't ask for any of this, you know," he muttered. "The pity, the parenting, the pain." Hannah turned toward him, not out of defiance, but honesty. Neither did he. They didn't say anything else that night, but for the first time, they sat in the same room and stayed there. At this point, what do you think Justin should do? Follow his pride or follow his heart? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's see who gets it right. The rain had softened by morning, but the house still held the hush of a storm past. Jason was still asleep in the living room, curled up like a kitten. Justin walked in with 2 mugs of coffee, one for himself and one awkwardly for Hannah. "I figured you'd need this," he said, offering it to her. "Thank you," she replied, surprised. He sat down across from her. The silence wasn't cold anymore, just full. Then something caught his eye, a worn, leather-bound notebook on the side table. Curiosity flickered across his face. He reached for it before she could stop him. Drawings, diagrams, measurements, prosthetics. Pages and pages of child-sized prosthetics, sketched in fine, practiced lines, some colored in crayon, some water-stained, his brow furrowed. "You made all of these?" She exhaled. "Yeah." Justin looked up, stunned. "You designed these?" "I was studying biomedical engineering. Georgia Tech," she said softly. Before what?" Her eyes dropped to her hands. She rubbed her thumb against her palm, a nervous habit. "I had a daughter," she said. "Maya, born with a rare limb disorder. Doctors told me she'd never crawl, never play. I didn't accept that." She swallowed hard. "I started learning how to build things. Braces, supports, then arms, all from scraps. Got good at it. Really good." "What happened to her?" Justin asked, voice quiet now. "She passed. Lung infection, just shy of her 3rd birthday." Justin sat back. The room felt smaller, slower. "I left school after that," Hannah continued. "Couldn't look at labs or hospitals anymore, so I cleaned. Quiet work. Work where no one asks questions. Until Jason." Justin's throat tightened. "Why didn't you tell me any of this?" She smiled, but it was sad. "You don't exactly look like a man who invites stories." He didn't deny it. There was a long pause. "You know," she said gently, "you don't have to be perfect to be present. Jason doesn't need a superhero, just a dad who tries." Justin looked away, but not before she saw it. Tears, the first she'd ever seen from him. The sun returned to Palm Beach like nothing ever happened. The storm had passed, but its echo lingered in the quiet way people moved around the estate. For once, there was no rush. Justin walked into the kitchen mid-morning. No phone, no laptop, just following the sound of soft humming. Hannah stood at the stove in one of her plain uniforms, barefoot, flipping pancakes. Jason sat on the counter, still in his pajamas, giggling as she added chocolate chips. "Did you even sleep?" Justin asked, half smiling. "A little," she replied. "Someone wanted pancakes before I could blink." Jason grinned. "She makes the smiley faces, Daddy." Justin looked down at the plate handed to him. 2 pancakes shaped into a goofy grin with blueberries. He chuckled. It felt foreign, but good. They all sat down together. No hierarchy, no tension. Just 3 people sharing pancakes and a fragile piece that felt like it might last. After breakfast, Jason pulled out a board game. "Play with us, Daddy." Justin hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, sure." They played. They laughed. Jason won, obviously, and even gloated a little. Justin watched his son light up with joy, his prosthetic arm resting on the table like it had always been there. Then it happened. Jason turned to Hannah and said, completely unprompted, "I wish you were my mommy." The air stilled. Justin looked up, breath caught. Hannah froze, stunned, heart pounding. "Oh, sweetheart," Jason frowned. "Is that bad?" She shook her head slowly. "No, baby, it's not bad at all." She looked at Justin, unsure if she should apologize, but to her surprise, he didn't look angry. He looked relieved. Something cracked inside him. Later, as Jason napped upstairs, Justin found Hannah on the back patio. The ocean shimmered in the distance. "I owe you more than I can say," he said. "You don't owe me anything," she replied. "I do. For him." For reminding me I'm still allowed to feel something. A pause. He added, "You've given him something no doctor ever could." She turned to him. "And what about you, Justin? What do you need?" His answer came slower. "Maybe I need to stop hiding behind my money and finally learn how to be human again." They didn't kiss, but the way their eyes met, it was the first chapter of something real. It was supposed to be just another day at the estate. The sun was out. Jason had slept in. Hannah was in the garden, watering the orchids. Justin was finally smiling more than he frowned. Then the gate intercom buzzed. Unannounced guests, 2 business partners from New York. Old money, sharp suits, shallow charm. The kind who never learned to lower their voices or open their hearts. Justin hadn't seen them in a while. He invited them in out of habit, not joy. Hannah, ever the professional, offered to help set up the patio drinks tray. Jason, curious and proud, followed her everywhere. "I see you finally hired someone who knows how to run a household," one of the men said, gesturing to Hannah. Justin winced. "She's been with us for a while." "Hard to find good help these days," the other man smirked. "Especially the loyal ones. Most maids are just waiting to sue you." Hannah froze. The glass in her hand trembled slightly. Jason looked up, confused. Justin looked down at his drink and said nothing. The conversation moved on, but something between Hannah and Justin shattered in that silence. That night, long after the guests left, Hannah found Justin in the kitchen. "You heard what they said?" Justin nodded. "They were out of line." "But you didn't say anything." He opened his mouth, then closed it. "It wasn't the time." "No," she interrupted. "It was exactly the time. Jason was right there. You just let it slide." He stood, frustrated. "What did you expect me to do, start a race war on the patio? These are the people I do business with." She stared at him, heartbroken. "I expected you to stand up for me, not as your maid, not as someone who lives downstairs, but as the woman who helped put your son back together." Silence. Then she said it. "I can't stay here, Justin. Not when you still see me as someone you have to explain." She walked away before he could stop her. Upstairs, Jason found her packing. His voice cracked. "You're leaving?" She kissed his forehead, tears slipping down. "I have to, baby." And just like that, the house went quiet again. The house was too quiet again. But this time, Justin noticed. Jason sat at the breakfast table, poking at cereal he didn't want. No smiles, no games, just a little boy who'd been told, once again, that love can leave without warning. "She's not coming back, is she?" Jason asked softly. Justin crouched down beside him, hands trembling slightly. "I don't know, buddy," he admitted. "But I really hope so." Jason looked away, and that was the moment Justin knew. He couldn't lose them both. Not again. By mid-afternoon, he was at his wife's grave. The Florida heat beat down on the marble as Justin sat cross-legged in the grass, staring at the name he hadn't dared say out loud in months. "I failed you," he whispered. "I failed both of you." His voice cracked. She was right here, in our home, helping our son feel again, helping me feel again. And I let her walk away, because I was too much of a coward to stand next to her when it counted. A long silence, then, "I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to fix this. Even if she never forgives me, I have to try." He stood, wiped his face, and walked with purpose. At the agency office, they told him she'd already checked out of her housing, no forwarding address. He searched, called, drove through parts of town he hadn't been in for years. Nothing. Then he remembered something she once said. "When I miss my daughter, I go where the breeze feels like her breath." It clicked. The old public bus station by the sea, the one near the edge of town where the palm trees bent with the wind. He drove like a man possessed. And there she was, sitting on a bench, suitcase at her feet, notebook in her lap. Hair pulled back, face still, but heavy. He stepped out of the car. Slowly. She looked up. Didn't smile. Didn't move. "I was afraid," he said. afraid to stand up because I thought I'd lose something important. She didn't speak, but I realized I already lost something more important. You. Her eyes began to shimmer. I don't want you to be our maid, Hannah. I want you to be part of our family. Could you forgive someone who stayed silent when it mattered most? Tell us in the comments. This is where hearts are either broken or healed. The air between them held still like a held breath. Hannah stared up at Justin, her heart racing beneath the calm on her face. I want you to be part of our family, he had said. Not a job offer, not a guilt-ridden apology, but something terrifyingly real. She looked down at her hands. They weren't trembling. Not anymore. Why now? She asked quietly. Why after all this time? He crouched beside her so they were eye to eye. Because for the first time in my life, I realized money can buy everything except peace, and when you left, the house went quiet again, not just in sound, but in soul. She blinked. He continued. Jason doesn't just need you, I need you. Not just in our lives, but in our hearts. A long silence. She closed her notebook slowly, like closing a chapter she wasn't meant to write. Then she said, almost in a whisper, Take me home. The ride back was quiet, but not the heavy kind, just peaceful. Jason was waiting by the front gate when they pulled up, his little hands gripping the bars, eyes wide with hope. When he saw her step out of the car, his face lit up like 1,000 birthday candles. Hannah! He screamed, running. She knelt just in time for him to throw himself into her arms, prosthetic and all. I thought you were gone forever. She held him tightly. Never. I just had to make sure someone was ready to fight for us. Inside the house, nothing had changed, but everything felt different. Justin called for the staff. I'm making a change, he said. Effective immediately. Hannah is no longer staff, she's family, and she'll be living here as Jason's caregiver, and as someone who belongs. No one questioned it, because somehow it felt right. That night they all sat on the patio. The ocean stretched wide beyond the property. Jason was drawing superheroes again, this time with 3 people in the picture. One of them had curly hair and warm brown eyes. Is that me? Hannah asked. Jason nodded. You're not the maid anymore. You're the hero now. Justin looked at her and smiled. She smiled back. And for once, no one was pretending anymore. Do you believe true love can survive even after being tested this hard? Let us know in the comments. And if you felt something during this story, subscribe. Stories like this deserve to be heard. So stay. Be part of the family we're building here.